Hey Wonderbox explorers, ever heard of a job so glamorous it made you glow in the dark? Sounds like something out of a superhero movie, right? But what if I told you this was a real job in the 1920s, and it came with a terrifying twist? Welcome back to the Wonderbox, where we dig up fascinating stories from history you might have missed. Today, we're unearthing the shocking true story of the Radium Girls, young women who painted their way into history and, tragically, into early graves. Our story begins in the early 20th century, a time buzzing with scientific breakthroughs. One element, discovered just a few decades prior, was causing particular excitement: radium. Marie and Pierre Curie's groundbreaking work had unveiled its incredible properties, including its mesmerizing glow-in-the-dark luminescence. Radium was hailed as a miracle cure, touted for everything from arthritis to impotence. Radium water, radium toothpaste, even radium chocolate. It seemed like the world couldn't get enough of this glowing wonder. And that's where our story truly ignites. In factories across America, particularly in New Jersey and Illinois, companies began using radium to create luminous paint. This paint was perfect for military instruments and, most famously, for watch dials. In the dark of night or in the trenches of World War I, soldiers could easily read the time thanks to these glowing numbers. And who were the nimble hands applying this magical glowing paint? Young women. They were recruited from local communities, often immigrants or working-class families, drawn by the promise of good wages and a seemingly glamorous job. These women, some as young as 15, were employed by companies like the United States Radium Corporation and the Radium Dial Company. Imagine the scene: brightly lit workshops, humming with activity, young women meticulously painting tiny watch numerals with fine brushes. They were trained in a technique called lip pointing to achieve the sharpest point on their brushes and ensure precise application. They were instructed to put the brushes in their mouths, shaping them with their lips and tongues. Dip, lick, paint. Dip, lick, paint. Thousands of times a day, they were ingesting tiny amounts of radium paint. The companies reassured them that radium was harmless. They even gave the women glowing radium powder to take home and use as makeup, enhancing their allure at dances and parties. They were, quite literally, the glow-in-the-dark girls. And initially, they felt great. Radium was, after all, advertised as healthy, invigorating even. Some women reported feeling energized, others just enjoyed the novelty of their luminous job. But the rosy picture was about to turn horribly dark. Over time, a sinister shadow began to creep into the lives of the Radium Girls. It started subtly. Jaw pain, toothaches that wouldn't go away. Then teeth began to loosen and fall out spontaneously. Far from being a sign of vitality, the glowing paint was silently, devastatingly, poisoning them from the inside out. What they didn't know was that radium, while initially hailed as a miracle, was a radioactive element. When ingested, it mimics calcium and gets absorbed into the bones. And once inside, it stays there, relentlessly emitting radiation, slowly destroying bone tissue and causing horrific damage. The women began to suffer from a constellation of bizarre and terrifying symptoms. Their jaws became necrotic, rotting away in a condition they called radium jaw. Bones fractured spontaneously. Anemia, infections, and agonizing pain became their constant companions. Doctors were baffled, initially misdiagnosing them with everything from syphilis to phosphorus poisoning, a condition known in the matchstick industry. One of the first to suspect the truth was Dr. Harrison Martland, a medical examiner in New Jersey. He was tasked with investigating the death of Molly Magia, one of the dial painters from the United States Radium Corporation. Dr. Martland, with his expertise in industrial poisoning, started to connect the dots. He meticulously studied Molly's case and others, finding alarmingly high levels of radon, a byproduct of radium decay, in their breath and bodily tissues. Dr. Martland's groundbreaking research, published in the 1920s, definitively linked radium to the devastating illnesses plaguing the dial painters. He coined the term radium poisoning and exposed the horrifying reality of internal radiation damage. But the radium companies weren't ready to admit their guilt. They vehemently denied any connection between radium and the women's suffering. They even commissioned their own studies that conveniently found no evidence of harm. Their motivation was clear: profit. Admitting fault would open the floodgates to lawsuits and damage their lucrative radium industry. And so began a David versus Goliath battle for justice. A group of courageous women, now known as the Radium Girls, decided to fight back. Led by figures like Grace Fryer, these women, many of them already severely ill and facing agonizing pain, decided to sue their employers. Their legal fight was an uphill struggle. They faced immense pressure, intimidation, and delaying tactics from the powerful corporations. The companies argued that radium was safe, that the women's illnesses were unrelated, and even tried to discredit their claims. The legal system was slow, and the women were running out of time. Their health was deteriorating rapidly, and public sympathy, while growing, wasn't always enough to overcome the powerful interests at play. In a landmark case in 1928, 5 Radium Girls from New Jersey, including Grace Fryer, finally reached a settlement with the United States Radium Corporation. While the financial compensation was relatively small and they never truly saw their day in court, the settlement was a monumental victory. It brought national attention to their plight, finally exposing the deadly truth about radium and the negligence of the companies. The Radium Girls' struggle didn't end with their settlement. Their cases, and subsequent lawsuits from dial painters in Illinois, sparked significant changes in labor laws and industrial safety regulations. Their fight directly led to the establishment of stricter workplace safety standards, particularly concerning radioactive materials and toxic substances. It empowered workers to demand safer working conditions and hold companies accountable for their employees' health. The Radium Girls, though initially victims of greed and ignorance, became unsung heroines of worker rights. They paid a terrible price, but their courage and determination paved the way for a safer and more just world for countless workers to come. Their story serves as a stark reminder of the importance of corporate accountability and the devastating consequences of prioritizing profit over human lives. The story of the Radium Girls is a tragic tale of exploitation, but also a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of collective action. It's a story that deserves to be remembered, not just for the darkness it reveals, but for the light of justice it ultimately ignited. So there you have it, the incredible and heartbreaking story of the Radium Girls. A story that reminds us to question, to demand safety, and to never underestimate the power of ordinary people fighting for what's right. Did you find this story as fascinating and shocking as we did? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed uncovering this hidden piece of history, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Wonder Box for more incredible stories from the past. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the wonders of history. Until next time, keep exploring.